Jim, Vince, thank you very much for coming to talk to us. First of all, could you just describe the vision for the Cameron Pace Group and explain exactly what are your target markets? Vince, it looks like you.
Oh, vision guy.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that what we want to do is have a great, a brand name that's associated with great 3D, and we want to provide the services, the hardware, the software, to enable everybody, whether it's in broadcast or motion pictures, to achieve their 3D dreams without a lot of, you know, fuss and muss and extra expense. So we really want to be enablers. We want other people to be able to do 3D. We don't want to come in and tell them what they can and cannot do. We want to let them be creative and do what they do best. Because the way we figure it is that people in the production community, they know what they're doing. They know their jobs. They've done it for years. And this 3D comes along. They don't want to have to reinvent what they do or throw out everything they know. They want to just be able to slide smoothly into 3D production.
So are you talking about systems? Are you talking about technologies? Are you talking about actual equipment, or which way you're going at it?
It's gear, it's personnel, it's expertise, it's training. It's whatever we can do to facilitate good 3D in all levels of broadcast and cinema production.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of what you're announcing here at IBC?
Well, I think the biggest announcement is that we're gonna start to introduce those solutions into the global community that we've been concentrating on in the domestic U.S.-based community. So, you know, everybody knows we started out in the cinema world and concentrating on that, and through that process we started to embrace the broadcast world. And you know, a lot of the solutions that we were working on for 3D translated well between the two communities. But then we started to bifurcate into solutions that work for broadcast as well as, you know, getting traction in the cinema world. Now, what's the big focus for us in IBC is that growth of those models that we've been working with ESPN, CBS, into the global community.
Is it a difficult medium for 3D television? Okay, it's being introduced more and more, but does television really suit 3D?
Well, I think absolutely. I think when you see these beautiful, you know, 40 and 50 and 55-inch sets, even though you still have the active glasses, which eventually will move beyond, but even now, I think the images are so spectacular. There's no consumer that sees them that doesn't want to have more and more programming in 3D. The problem is there just isn't enough programming. You know, so everybody runs out and gets these fantastic TV sets, and there's just not enough content. So, you know, all of our camera systems are out all the time. We've got what, 14 out now on what is it, US Open, and you know, so we've got hundreds of systems, and they're always out the door now because the demand is so high. I think everybody that sees it wants it. It's just a question of how do we get the broadcast industry at large to change over to 3D production in a way where the business models make sense, where the you know, the cost, the incremental cost, is not what they fear, which is sort of, you know, 1.5 or 2 times their previous production cost, but down to a value that actually makes sense in a way that they can monetize.
But isn't it fair also to say that perhaps there are only certain types of programming where 3D really works, in the way that you shoot 3D, that shots are longer, that you need more time for them to develop? Is it not fair to say that there are...
You're talking to the wrong guy. No, because we think everything should be in 3D. I think Shopping Channel should be in 3D. Yeah. You know, so you're definitely talking to the wrong guys. No, if you think about it, I mean, there was only one Avatar. There wasn't a 2D version and a 3D version. I don't feel that there was any compromise to the cutting rhythm or to the staging or anything. And the thing that we're trying to promote is this idea that the only business model that makes sense is one production, where, you know, the 2D and the 3D are extracted from the same camera positions. Are there some things that benefit more than others from 3D? Yes, I think everything benefits from 3D, some things benefit more. I don't think there's anything where it's kind of just even or a negative. There's always value added. I think some of the things that people didn't see coming were like golf. I mean, I think everybody was shocked at how much greater golf was in 3D. I'm not a big golf fan, so, and even I loved it in 3D. I think another area is in scripted programming, which we haven't really gotten into enough yet. That's going to be the next, I think that'll be one of the next big phases of this. That just straight, drama, for example, a 1-hour scripted drama, is going to be so much more compelling in 3D than it is in 2D. And this is counterintuitive to people because they always think it's going to be the big animated films and the big visual effects extravaganzas like Avatar or whatever.
But what about factual and particular sort of the type of fly on the wall documentaries?
Absolutely.
Can you see those working in 3D?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think that 3D is a medium that extracts more character, more athleticism, more emotion than any other medium out there to deliver to the consumer. And I think we make the mistake of trying to put it in these categories of what works well. For instance, when we started, they all said, oh, boxing would be a good, easy sport to do, right? But we're doing all the sports. We're doing every angle. We're covering it from every angle that the storyteller is trying to use. I think we have to put it in the category of entertainment. We're working on entertainment, not this story about 2D versus a 3D. We're trying to enhance the entertainment value to the consumer, and that's the bottom line for us.
It was like in the early days of color. Everybody was saying, well, what's a good color show? Where should we spend the money on color? Well, this will be better because it's very colorful. And after a while, everything was in color. Because it was the premium standard for viewing any entertainment, and that's really what 3D needs to be, the way it needs to be viewed.
You developed Fusion 3D, more than 12 years ago, which is a highly advanced 3D technology camera and workflow system. So what are the key features of the current system that you're working on?
Well, I think that the automation of the process is really what's being focused on now. I think we've demonstrated that, the philosophy of how the Fusion 3D approaches shooting of 3D, the equipment that we use and how we manage that equipment and the infrastructure of technology supports the creative process. I think the goal now is that we're evolving into an automated process. And what that does for us in the broadcasting community is allow us to get the cost down and get the opportunity level up, more camera systems, more coverage of the sport in a 3D fashion. I think we've evolved beyond the highlight reel of 3D, which everybody has accepted. It's compelling. It's a great way to see a subject matter. And we're now concentrating on telling the story, but in a way that makes sense on the business model, which usually comes down to cost and personnel.
Yeah, see, our emphasis early on was on quality, robustness. We wanted to make sure this equipment was going to go out into the field and not break. Flexibility, so that people could shoot all kinds of different situations. And in recent years, we've had to really address this issue of an industry-wide business model that needs to drive the cost down, and by making the cameras smarter, more automated, taking more human beings out of the loop of making good 3D, we start to get closer to parity with 2D production, which I think is critical.
So your systems that if I were a program maker wanting to make a TV program in 3D, do I buy the system? Do I rent the system? How do you work it?
Hire us. No, I think the issue is that we want people to do what they do. So we've got to put rigs in their hands. We've got to train their personnel and so on. And we've got to tell their directors and producers, you guys do your jobs the way you do it. Follow your creative instincts, and let us provide the expertise and the gear to make that possible. For right now, the rental model makes the most sense. And frankly, a lot of people have run out and bought low-cost 3D systems, and then a year later they're completely obsolete. Because the life cycle on these systems is so short that we actually have to absorb the cost of that. We build them in a modular way so that we can tear them down, we can improve them, we can put them back out in the field as an improved, kind of state-of-the-art system. But you don't want to have to do that, because it's a constantly evolving, dynamic situation. Fortunately, we have our own machine shops, we have our own engineering design department, so we're able to do that. So for right now, the best model is the lease model. But we're also going to be introducing a product line for broadcast that you can purchase, because we think we're coming up on a plateau where things are going to stabilize for a while in the technology.
What in terms of what format you use?
No, it's not a format issue. It's really just you get to a point where the technology's good enough, robust enough, and flexible enough that it doesn't need to change. But over the last few years, we've been in this kind of very Darwinian process where, you know, this camera is ascendant this week, and then the next week it's the next flavor of the month, and you have to keep constantly configuring the rigs to follow these whims of the market. Well, the market's trying to settle down now on a few cameras that people believe are the right solutions.
Yeah. And presumably people across the film industry are keen that 3D should work in television. I'm thinking about with Blu-ray and so on. And so it works across the board from their point of view too.
Well, we want to complete this entertainment circle. You know, all of those distribution models that are out there, I think, work hand in hand. You know, there is no theory of saying, well, we're going to use it in cinema, but you know, that we want to ignore the distribution model of Blu-ray and other devices. So for us, it's everything elevating into an enhanced entertainment medium, and you know, the consumer's having the option to upgrade that experience to whether it's a film in the Blu-ray player or it's a live broadcast from the broadcaster. They have that option.
How far off? Go on, sorry.
It's a complete ecosystem. We, you know, as we expand into broadcast, then there'll be more sets. The 3D Blu-ray will work hand in hand with these you know, beautiful displays, and then we'll have a place to put our movies into the home. But we can't make enough movies fast enough in Hollywood to drive this 3D revolution in the home. The consumer electronics companies got out there with the TVs, but there was this gap in content, which we're now rushing around to try to fill, working with the broadcasters.
Speaking of which, when might we see a Avatar on a 3D Blu-ray release?
The first Avatar film will be coming out in 12, probably holidays 12, 3D Blu-ray. And we were just waiting for there to be enough sets and enough players out there. But you know, the next Avatar films after that are still going to be a few years out. We can't make the movies fast enough to drive this revolution, so we have to do it. And our belief is that it's really going to be a revolution in broadcast, a global revolution in broadcast.
And all this time we're talking about 3D. We're talking about stereographic 3D. Yeah. Is there a time in the foreseeable future when holographic 3D could become a reality?
Well, you don't like to. You want to never say never. But my belief is anybody that really thinks they want hologramic programming on TV has never actually seen a hologram. They're translucent, monochromatic, very strange, and not very watchable in terms of a narrative. I think we're a long way away from that.
But if you touch on that point, I think that the viewer is looking for the screen to disappear. You know, I mean, a lot of people refer that as a holographic image, but really what they're looking for is a window into their sport, into their, you know, drama piece and stuff. And I think that we can accomplish that with current technology. It's just that I think we're reaching further out there for something that, yeah, most people haven't understood that technology for what it represents, which is
it's kind of like smell-o-vision. You know, it's one of these like theoretical things that might happen someday, or maybe you put on virtual reality glasses and live in the Matrix. I mean, you know, right now what we're talking about is the last necessary revolution in entertainment viewing. If you think about it, we see in color, so we created color in the movies. We hear, so we put sound with the movies. We actually hear stereophonically, so we improved the sound systems. You know, all of the changes that have been made to entertainment have been to catch up with the human sensory system. Well, we have two eyes, and we see stereoscopically. We're seeing stereoscopically right now. So when you give people their entertainment in stereo 3D, it starts to look more real. It triggers little circuits in the brain that say to your mind while you're watching it, well, I know this is entertainment, but it also seems damn real. And so it has a different relationship between the viewer and the content that you have with a 2D image. And they've found this through neurological testing. Neuroscience supports these ideas, which is why people find it so compelling.
And just finally, why are you two guys so passionate that everything from now on in should be in 3D? Obviously, it's a good business model for you chaps, but you know, what's the real passion that drives you here?
We just love it. I mean, we loved it from the first time we started messing around with it, which was, you know, 12 years ago. The first time we sort of put two cameras together and started building a stereoscopic rig.
And there's a connection to the images that I think that the viewer is still yet to realize. You know, when done well, you really convey an emotional experience that is unlike any other medium that's out there. And so, you know, for me, it's a passion to bring that home, whether it's natural history programming, you know, where you're going to see the next scientist come out of that engagement on a young child, to a sports fan that, you know, is sitting there as if he's at the, you know, sporting event. So for me, I just see that technology breaking that final barrier, if you will, and I'm passionate about contributing to that effort.
Vince,
Well
Jim,
put.
thank you very much indeed.
More than welcome.
All right, thanks.
Okay, great.